Hello and welcome back to the Freedom Network. My name's Troy Colmer, and we are building the most powerful community on the planet. Our virtues are strength, honor, and integrity. And our mission is to help you to become self-empowered and limitless. So we're building something very powerful. And I have here my good mate, Geoff Kate. I've known him for a long time. I actually met him back where he was about 16, I think, and
Yeah.
he was my little first year apprentice, my snotty nose, I used to call him. And anyway, yeah, so we've been friends a very long time. We lost paths there for a little while because he went off track a bit in his way of thought, and he obviously had his own demons, which he's going to talk about today, and his path that he chose originally, and then how he went off track, and the consequences of going off track is quite large, um, and then how you can become out of it. So Jeff's going to be helping me with the men's network, which is vitally important as well because men have been disregarded, I would say, over the last 20 years or so with the being belittled. I don't know if that's a word, or I don't know if that's even the right thing to say. Belittled is probably not. I'm not sure the exact wording there, but it's it's important that all men and women become self-empowered, because remember, our mission is to raise our vibration of the planet. So that means that we all have to work together. We're at a critical time in history where we need to choose to either the low road or the high road. And so the low road is to stay with the slave system that we've been brought into, or the high road is not the easy road, but it is the best road. Like, once you discover, as Jeff's going to tell you how good it is from his journey, once you discover how good being enlightened is, and learning how the secret of the universe works, and yeah, it's just life really does become exciting and incredible. So anyway, here's my good mate Geoff, and how are you going today, Geoff?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks, Troy. Thanks for having me on the Freedom Network here, and yourself. And hopefully we can, spread this beautiful message that you've got to get out to everyone to show there are support and there are other ways of living your life.
Yeah, and we like to call it a better way.
A
There
better
is a
way.
better way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and we've all, like you say, we've all got our words and our ways, but it is a better way. I completely understand what your process is now. I'm enjoying the podcast with you and Craigo and the initial program. So, and I've had the luxury of having some programs or new belief systems reset by you in the past. So I'm on track with what you're doing.
Yeah, that's unreal. Um, so if we just share a little bit of your life journey, it's just only reason that we want to do this is because I know, and it is hard because the journey's not always easy to bring up when you've made decisions that have not been ideal, and but it's just for people, both men and women, to know that it doesn't matter how low you get. Doesn't matter. You can always get out. You can always find a way out. Always. And it's just a matter of just saying, rightio, now, okay, you've made the wrong decision to this point, and then we just go, rightio, we stop here, and we just create a new person, a new way of life, and then we just get on that road, and then we grind. Is that what you would say, Geoff?
Yeah, I wished at the time when I probably needed probably this type of support. I wish I had this type of support then, which would have made probably a night and day difference. Because
Before, as you say, then, Geoff, what do you mean? Like, before that you made all your bad decisions, or like
yeah, for sure.
how early in your journey do you think that you should have had the support?
Well, just probably the support or just the knowledge like this. So, for all of your listeners out there, if they were to hear this at, 16 or 15, 16, 20, 30, I'd say it's going to be of a great benefit to have this knowledge as early as possible in your life. But for me, I use some of the terminologies that you do, the Matrix and this programmable world. Sometimes refer to the Truman Show.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we've got of like things there, but for me in the way of some of my mistakes or some of my poor decisions, vice versa, making a poor decisions and then you end up making some bigger mistakes, as you'll hear shortly. But either or, before would save a lot of hassle, and before would be much more beneficial to your way of living. But certainly, if you have made some decisions or mistakes in your life, that this is definitely a fast track or fast way out to a better life or a better way. So for me personally, I've got it now, and it did come after some of my indiscretions. So, and it's made a difference. Like there's definitely a benefit before or after.
Yeah. Obviously, it'd be better before, but do you think people that you don't realize that you need it before?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, you're in, like you say in a lot of the other stuff, we're programmed to just live life in the matrix where, you go to school, you get a job, you get your home loans, you pay your debts, you go on a holiday once a year. So to have the benefit of this universal way or the all it is, as I call it, to have that help now has been massively beneficial. Like it's made an easy path that was very difficult to do it without this knowledge.
Yeah.
Probably impossible.
Yeah, probably. And I don't think there's no way you'd be where you are now. There's no way
No,
if
no.
you hadn't got onto this journey. But yeah. So, but what I was saying is that if someone was um like is at a low point, did they probably don't know that at that time. Like I think sometimes you have to hit like rock bottom
Oh, look, I'll
before you
explain
reach
rock
out.
bottom in a minute. I hit the rock and then I went under it.
You felt there was another bottom under the rock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a bit of, when you hit the bottom of the pond and then there's ponds come and you sort of
Mm,
nestle your way into the quicksand. Well, that's what it was for me. And my story may be not as bad as others, but for me personally, it was at rock bottom. And back in those days when, I'm not saying that I don't believe in depression, but at the time, I had depression. I was told by the doctors, "You've got depression. You better take these tablets and all that sort of stuff." So I've felt I was felt what it was told what it was told what depression was, and I had it, and I was at rock bottom, and at some points I thought that I had nowhere else to go except out of here because I didn't feel like I had any options left, and the
to
shame.
leave the earth plane, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
And I think that comes about too. I used to think it was a bit, never thought of any self harm and stuff like that, but you never really know until you're in those positions where you have so much fear of the consequences of your actions, and then you have fear of society's judgment, and when all that's stacked on, the public how much the public put out about suicides and self-harm and all that sort of thing, it becomes present in your mind. And it's this again, what the media put out there, how many suicides, how many men commit suicide because of relationships and breakdowns and mistakes. It's programmed into your mind, and I call that sort of stuff the hypnotic rhythm of the matrix.
yeah,
And it gets into your mind, and all of a sudden when you hit rock bottom and you're not sure of a way out, those become options. So
yeah.
that becomes an option of relief, or if you just can't get away from the terrible
It
feeling.
feels like an easy way out, doesn't it?
Oh well, it feels sometimes you think
Why
I
why
can't take
bother?
this anymore. I can't take another day of the shame or the regret or not knowing how to get out of it. So you think, well, far out. If this is going to be like this again tomorrow, well, why bother?
Yeah, and how long ago was that?
Um, for me, it was 8 years.
Yeah.
Well, I've been through a couple of things in my life, and both of them have been related to relationship breakdowns. So for me, that that's that snowballed an effect to getting really sad, really depressed, and drinking, like most men do. Like they separate, they lose their kids, they're alone, they're depressed, they're upset, and they've sort of got no one for a while. And I've been down that road. I've been down that road twice now, and that's no bragging. But I'm 50 years old, so I'm doing pretty good.
That's no bragging.
Yeah, no bragging. I've had two failed relationships, and it's nothing to sort of be proud of. But you go through these things, and you're in this way of growing up, and as you probably find out over maybe some more podcasts, how I become there, and I know how I become there. I went through some forensic psychology, and in the matrix way of doing it, your upbringing and your first 7 years of your life, you sort of follow suit of your parents and your parents' life. So broken family, that sort of stuff sort of carried forth for me. So, but I got to the point as I did 8 years ago, and went through a very unhappy stage of in a relationship. So, would you want to? I'll continue straight into this now.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was in a relationship that I was in for 13 years, and I was unhappy for just a number of those years. Didn't feel like I was in a place where I was comfortable. So you try to work things out, and you get to a point where you've got three children, and you sort of want to stick around, till the kids grow up and do the right and do the family thing, and then it becomes to a point where you think, this is just not. It's not working for you. You just you don't want to go home each day. It just feels uncomfortable, and you don't know which way to turn. So, and that's where I got to. And I'm sure a lot of men out there and women, because we're all in the same boat. We all have the same emotions, and we all have the same relationship struggles or things that we think are struggles. So I got to that point where I wasn't happy anymore, and it sort of started taking its toll, and I wasn't sort of going home, and I was avoiding things, the usual men way of doing things.
Yeah.
But not in saying that, I tried really, really a lot and really hard to get the relationship to somewhere where it was good. But two different people, sometimes it just never works. So
Yeah.
and we've all got different programs. So I was in one state of mind, and my ex-partner was in another state of mind, and we just sort of couldn't get to an even plane or on the same plane. And I sort of just deteriorated down there. Started drinking, staying out. And I was very busy. I'm very community-minded man, and even back then, so I was very dedicated to community, spending 30, 40 hours in life saving. So I had plenty of ways out, but the drinking for me sort of came into place as a bit of an option.
When you say drinking, like what? How much a night? How many beers a night? What do you think it was drinking?
Well, I was never an alcoholic, but I think it was just an avoidance thing, and it brought me pleasure. It was fun. You got your drinking, and you. For me, I wouldn't drink sort of Monday or Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights sometimes. But then if I'd have a meeting or I caught up with some friends within something, I'd start out having 1, 2, 3, 4 beers, and then that would be Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday night, and Saturday night, and none Sunday night, or just 2 beers in the yard at home Sunday night. And that's how it sort of started out. But in the sort of the peak of my time of avoidance or downturn, I would go out and have maybe 15 beers.
Yeah.
And then maybe Friday night I would, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd finish work because I have my own business, and I'd have 10 or 12 schooners, and then half a dozen rums, and maybe a bottle of red wine. And it sort of got to a point where I was going home at 3 in the morning, and I would have had that amount of drinks.
Yeah.
And I got accustomed to it, and I'd do that sort of weekly, and I ended up not getting hangovers, and I could sort of have a dozen beers and get up and go to work in the morning, and I feel okay, and I wouldn't drive until 8 or 9 o'clock. I wouldn't, so if I had beers the night before, I wouldn't sort of drink drive the next day. But there was probably times there where I shouldn't have, which is, you know, going down a slippery slope of starting to probably affect the community with your drinking the night before. Yeah, so the drinking for me and hanging out with friends that drank a lot as well. Probably not for the same reasons as mine, but yeah, and it wouldn't be every night, but I would sort of binge drink as I was sort of diagnosed, a bit of a binge drinker. Once I got into party mode, I was, it made me feel better until, 10 or 11 at night. I'd had 10 beers, which is quite a lot. 10 beers to have of an evening is, for me, is a lot anyway. Now I went through a stage where last couple of years I didn't have a drink for a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I have one or two, and if I have two now, I get a headache. So it's done a whole reversal thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to that point where, and obviously there was a catalyst moment where the relationship broke down. I made some poor decisions to, make it. I sort of made other friends, and some of those were women, and I got to a point where, I'd left the relationship. I was still living in the house. I was drinking, avoiding, not coming home. And I was sort of starting to, unfortunately, live my next to sort of life. I was still drinking. I wasn't out of a situation. And the depression started coming, or the depressive state started coming when I was coming to terms with, I couldn't really leave my kids. And that sort of stacked on to the relationship's broken down. Now it's looking like imminent separation. And coming from a broken family and a bit of, abusiveness, abusive behaviours and alcohol-fueled stepfathers, the fact of leaving my kids, that just made it 10 times worse for me. So I sort of had to try and hang in there, but I'd started leaving, and I was so undecided on what I could do. I didn't know which way to turn. So what made you feel good? Drinking, escaping, partying, having fun with your friends at 40 years old.
Yeah.
I was just a poor, I was, and I had some friends at the time that sort of said, and obviously once I disclosed it, how I went off the rails. After it, they said, "Shit, we knew there's something going wrong. We knew you were going down this path, and we just thought, oh yeah, he'll be right. He'll make it out. He's a tough guy. He's a smart, tough guy that, he looks after our community surf lifesaving club, so he's going to be fine." But I wasn't. I was really on a downward spiral, and I got to a point where the drinking got to, I was drinking four nights a week, and having 10 beers a night. And I befriended a lady that was in a struggle in her life. She was married and separating from a partner, and it came about that she disclosed this information to me, that he was abusive and he used to get a bit rough with her and stuff like that. And I sort of seen that a bit, in my time through my childhood a bit, a bit of aggressive men in relationships. So and I sort of went to the aid of that, and that was my way of helping her out. And we had a friendship, which was probably not appropriate in amongst that. And I've dealt with all the shame of that, and doing the wrong things, and I've come out the other side now. So I've forgiven myself for whatever indiscretions I've done, and I've had to do that to get clear of it. But yeah, I in helping her out, get out of a situation, I initially went to the police with her and said, let's get you out of this situation. And unfortunately, he sort of found out that I was helping her, and he made some threats, and I reacted poorly in a drunken state, and went to her house to obtain her possessions. And in a silly move, I rang her partner or ex-partner and said that I was there, and and I said, yes, and I was pretty intoxicated at the time, and I said, you're a bit of a wife beater and things like that. So I went down that path, and he showed up with some friends, and we got into a physical altercation, which was something that, that's not me. I think the last physical altercation that I got in was in high school, and I didn't win that one, so I didn't I didn't feel like going back for another go. And I'm just not a fighter. I've never been a really aggressive person. So making a really poor decision to, one, be intoxicated. At the time, I was on depression medication with the alcohol, and I really made a poor decision. And it was just attending a property in the way of trying to help, but I was intoxicated and I was on medication, so I wasn't really thinking straight. And there was a physical altercation with this person, to which I'm very regretful for then and now. But and I got in trouble with the law for that, because I was at his premises and we got into a physical altercation, and he got a little bit hurt and I got a little bit hurt, and as the law goes, I was dealt with by the law. And some of my family and some of my friends say that the severity of my punishment for someone who's really never been in trouble before and an upstanding member of the community, at the time, and I felt hard done by, because I got quite a harsh penalty, and that was incarceration, which was probably the most fearful thing in my life. And what that did for my spiraling downward step was it escalated it from just stupid behavior of drinking too much. When I say stupid behavior, poor behavior, drinking too much, letting myself go down on a downward spiral, to making a mistake, to making for me, that was a catastrophic mistake for whom I was. I was out of character, and it was just a massive mistake, and that led me down a path of being in trouble with the law, and that was not escapable. You couldn't just say sorry and it was all over, or like you might make a few mistakes, but I had repercussions from that, and they were quite severe. And I did a very small stint of incarceration there, and that was hard for me, because it took a year to go through the courts and do all these sorts of things. And in that process, I thought I hit rock bottom. And then obviously being in that place, then I thought I hit rock bottom. I thought the lead up was bad. And then I thought attending there was bad. And that was probably the worst stage of my life. So if any of this can help anybody not make any decisions, that's why I'm happy and open to do that.
But how long were you in there for?
3 months.
Yeah.
And there's probably going to be many more podcasts where we can get this out. But I relate it to a TV show on Netflix called Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Where we're all up on the top level and it's all rosy, and then there's this dark underworld of hell, and that's how I would relate that place, because when you're the soccer dad and you're the community man and you're all this sort of all this standard person, as I thought I was, you end up in this, from a mistake, you can end up somewhere totally opposite to where you ever thought you would have been in your life. So yeah, ended up there, and it was a big eye opener. And once these podcasts go live, you'll see the color of my hair, and the amount of fear and the amount of shame and regret. It changes your life, and it made me sick, and it made me unwell, right down to the cellular level, because obviously that your way of thinking creates your health. So my health sort of deteriorated, and I thought I was rock bottom. And then coming home after that, I thought, hey, here we go, I'm seeing the light. But coming home after 3 months, and some people, there were people in there that were incarcerated for traffic offences. So, but I was in the maximum security prison, so it was pretty bad. But coming home was probably my worst. When I thought that I was going to step up and I was coming back to all this support and family, that was probably when I hit my rock bottom, like the bottom, which I thought was the bottom.
Why do you say that? Like, why was it worse coming out than being in?
Well, for me, having to see everyone again and having to feel
Because of the
shame.
shame of it, do you
Oh,
think,
the
or the
shame is horrendous, you know.
yeah,
And you go through multiple levels of shame. One, embarrassment. One, shame. One, what you think, what you know, how your parents handle it. And it may not have been related, but my father had a heart attack in amongst this whole process. So, you know, triple bypass. He nearly passed away. So, you know, the effects of my one night of, or it wasn't just one night, but the one night in question, created so much pain for so many people, disappointment, you know. And my family sort of says, you know, you've got this support network of all these people around you saying, don't worry, we're going to help you. And make my family, like anyone's family, they were amazing. But it doesn't take away your thoughts at the time. And my thoughts were of shame, regret, embarrassment, um, and probably and many more. And so I had to deal with that, which was my own inner demons, but society's judgment, which I think everybody knows, society's judgment's pretty fierce. But you know, being in the newspaper and being on TV, of you know, and the media run you
it
down.
certainly blew it up more than it was, though, didn't it?
Oh, mate, and like I don't watch TV or anymore because it's unhealthy watching normal mainstream TV. It's all fake, you know. Donald Trump's fake news, and it is that they make stories exciting, and they think they make them exciting, but all they do is make it. Um, and some people that do the wrong thing, you know, that they need repercussions, but they don't. I don't think they need public shaming. The public, should they be aware of people doing certain crimes? Well, there's got to be a happy medium there. But for me personally, the story that was depicted wasn't the story that happened. So, and I had to deal with that shame. And I'm very lucky. I've got a beautiful family. My community, they supported me to no end. I had 80 people from my local community rally behind me for everything until I was back on track. But dealing with that shame and dealing with society's judgment, and then the repercussions. You know, I couldn't get insurance. I couldn't get a blue card because it was a violent offence. So there was
So, what's a blue card do?
well, a blue card's for child safety, but because it was a violent offence, I
And what's that allow you to do? Is that for
to
surf
work
life
with
saving?
children. Yeah, surf life saving,
Oh, right, yeah,
and in Queensland, surf life saving, things like that. So there was a lot of repercussions that took pretty much 5 years to get past. You know,
yeah,
my business insurance went from 1,000 a year to 8 or 7,000 a year. So there was just so many repercussions. You know, not being able to travel overseas. So you think it's over, but it's just beginning again,
yeah,
or you're in phase 3. You know, make your mistake. Phase 1's going through this. Phase
yeah.
2's doing the time, or you know, whatever repercussions you have. But then phase 3 is getting your way out, and that was probably the trickiest for me, you know, because the other stuff is going about the business, but um, getting yourself out of that was really difficult. That was my lowest point. So, and to get myself out of there, you know, I had the support of my family and my community, and really good friends, and obviously you were there. You were part of that process, and yeah, for one night of madness, you can certainly have catastrophic, life changing effects.
And do you think if there was no alcohol, there's like all of that wouldn't have happened? Do you think?
No doubt,
Yeah,
no doubt. And you know, the medications that these doctors put you on, you know, as a man, you know, we don't want to say, oh, I need help, but I actually did. I went to my doctor that I was with for 15 years and went and said I need some help. Smacked me straight onto some medications. Obviously, I didn't read it, and says don't drink alcohol with these tablets. You know, and you're just not thinking at that
yeah,
time. when you're really going through things like that, one, you're a man, you're a protector and a provider. You're not a what I thought at the time was a weakness to say I need help. And when you get past that, and tablets didn't help. Tablets didn't help. Talk therapy sort of it didn't help me. Because all I did was say, "Oh, this is really bad," and blah blah blah. So, and now, jumping forward, if I could rechange my programs with some of these techniques, I would have healed myself and got out of my mess straight away,
Yeah, at the start.
straight at the start.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I had a really tough time for probably 12 months, 18 months. And again, I did the same thing. I kept it all inside, and I really battled my way through it on my own. And that's a part of my testament now. Like, and I may be one of a few that can do it, or that can get to this point now. I got myself to a point, but my trauma triggered my when I say enlightenment, and I'm a bit like you. Some words fit, some words don't. And awakening or enlightenment along those lines. This trauma, the trauma, it spurred this change in my direction of my life, and has led me down this path of the last 8 years, probably predominantly more so the last 4 years, to be on this really good road. So, to the freedom movement that you're doing, this will fix a lot of people fast, straight away. Like, there's no
Yeah.
use suffering. There's
I
no use.
remember, because I remember that you were at that real low. Like, I didn't speak to you for a lot of years there because you were on a bad track, and because when we could all see that you were using alcohol to mask the problem, which a lot of people do, and um, you know that you can't. That's what I was saying. You can't help until you actually want to get help. And
Yeah,
so all of those things happened, and I remember that it was after you'd come out of jail. I'm not sure how much longer it was after that when I spoke with you, and I just said, no, I'm coming up. So I flew up. I remember flying up to Queensland there to your house. I
yeah,
said, I said, mate, we can fix all this. We can
yeah.
fix it all up straight away. We can get you on the right track. And then I think you're on some medications and things for stuff. And we said, oh, no, we'll get rid of all those.
Yeah, yeah, no, and we did, and
Yeah. And
that's
I think we set up your weight. Remember that?
yep, yeah,
Yeah. I think we did all that. We did it all over I think it was like 2 days or something. Was it?
yep. I could probably say that we picked my weight, we fixed my thyroid, we fixed the testosterone disorder, and I'm a man of action. That was one of the two.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot. That's
They're,
right.
they're the four. They're the four biggies that we did,
Yeah.
and mate, sometimes my memory's getting better as these last couple of years go on, but the memory sort of started failing. But they are the four, and to this day, sometimes I think we need to revisit the man of action, because sometimes the 5 Tibetan rites doesn't happen every day, so that's a bit not action.
Yeah.
But the testosterone and those other things, I'm sure we'll discuss my way of my way of eating, or my I call it my dieta, my way of eating, or my food. And I owe a lot of that to you as well. The starting points from there, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And
we
that's
did all
what
those good things.
I like to tell people too, that it's just the seed. It's
Yeah,
just the seed. All we're doing is clearing the garden bed for the seed, but you still got to do all the action, and you
yeah,
still got
yeah,
to do all the work.
yeah,
Like it's not magic. It's magic, but it's not magic.
yeah,
Like if we had done all that work with you and then you just went straight started drinking,
yeah.
I would have done nothing.
No,
But
that's
you made the decision to say, right, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm getting rid of the old Geoff, and now from this day forward we start a new Geoff, and then we move forward.
yeah,
And so then we create we clear the garden bed, we get rid of all that. But then, like, you've done like more work than anyone I've known in the self help. We can see all those books behind you. Like, it's just been like, I'm incredibly proud of you that the the journey that you've been on. And I think that Geoff, you're a real inspiration to men, and to see that where you come from, like that was, I remember those times, and that was like I was thinking, geez, I don't know if I could have done it. Like I don't know if I I may have taken that first option that you were talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could have come out of it. Like you've got incredible power there, willpower to be able to do that. And I think that, and I know that you've been helping a few men now doing things, and like moving forward into the future, I think you're going to help a lot of people because you can't really help anyone until you have experienced it yourself. Like you have to experience all these low points.
yeah,
Like I've experienced them, and yeah, and you've experienced them, and because you don't, how can you help somebody if you can't be on the same wavelength? Like
yeah,
if you haven't seen it yourself.
yep. And I completely agree there because
Yeah,
going, you know, what I did during it, I went straight away because I thought, I've got to get myself out of this, and I've been down the road of paying $300 for 40 minutes for psychologists, and that, and for me, and I'm not saying don't do it, don't do talk therapy, don't do psychology, do all that, do everything that you can possibly do to get yourself forward. But for me personally, sitting down with a very intelligent psychologist, it didn't help me. Like, we would talk about
yeah.
it,
And
it didn't help.
we've talked about it before, and I know you're very diplomatic about it, but I say that they don't do anything but make it worse. That's my view. Every single person that I've worked with, they've all been for years down to the talk therapy thing. But you know why? Is because you have your Wi-Fi connection to your default mode, which is all your folders. And so every time you talk about it and think about it, that Wi-Fi connection gets stronger. It doesn't
Yes,
get weaker. And so
yep,
what happens is while you're in these talk therapy things, you can use your free will to override that problem. Even though the Wi-Fi is getting stronger, you can use the free will to think, oh yeah, now I can get over it and get better. And you walk out and, oh yeah, things are great. But as soon as you have one little trigger, one little thing, then it's like twice as bad. And so this is why the talk therapy never finishes. Like
yeah,
people that go to that go just it's a forever thing, and
yeah,
they call, oh yeah, that's my therapist.
yeah,
And but for people that want to heal themselves like quick, because a lot of people, to your amazement, a lot of people do like feeling like that for whatever reason. I don't know. I really can't understand it, but for me, it's like, I want to get out of it as quick. Like being down in those dumps, it's terrible.
yeah,
Like when you all the clouds are in, and you can, and I had nowhere near the thoughts that you had. Like I was never that low, but I know that like it's not great, and I know what it's like to be a man to it's embarrassing to reach out. Like
yeah,
you don't want to look weak.
exactly. And
Yeah,
that's what, and that at the times, that's what it was. At the time, I probably didn't. For me personally, I probably didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to be feeling weak." It's just a feeling that you can't explain and you don't understand, and you just don't take that path. Like,
yeah,
I probably did get to a point in the end where I said, I'm not going to be a weak ass, and do all this stuff. But then it's just a feeling, and it's just a train of thought that you go through, that's just not what you do.
yeah,
And you've got to, for me, on that psychotherapy stuff, to sort of add to there, I went to two or three of them, and then I got to a forensic psychologist, and she was a hard ass. She told it to me straight, as a bit like Troy Colmer, like he tells me to pull my head in, and that's good. He, I've I heard that word 6 7 years ago. Pull your head in. You're talking rubbish. And she gave it to me straight on where to get my thoughts. And as you can see, so there's 50 books or 100 books behind me telling me to get your train of thought on the direction you're heading, not revisit what you did and why you did it and how to get out of what you did. which I feel like talk therapy is, because we'd go there for 40 minutes, and for the first 20 minutes, okay, what do we do? Do we know that's wrong? Yes. How do we get out of it? Instead of just straight moving into how you want it to be and where you want to go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is exactly what I say to people too. We can't change it.
Yeah.
Like, we can't change the past. We can't change it. There's
Yeah.
nothing, there's not a single thing we can do, that we can talk, we can think, nothing. So what about we just draw a line in the sand and go, okay, let's accept it. Let's accept what we've done. Let's accept where we're at and accept all the things that and then let's just move forward and create a new person. If you had a choice of the person that you want to be, well, let's create it. Let's
And
just do it.
just head that direction.
Yeah, and just keep going.
Yeah, it's no use. It's no use saying, I'm a really good bloke now. I've made a few mistakes, but I'm heading that path. You just got to say, oh, I'm a great person. And where do I want to be? I want to be free, happy, motivated, healthy. Well, my little 7 keys is health, optimum health, um, abundance in wealth, pleasant within, pleasant around, full of joyful happiness, growing wisdom, always safe, and in good relationships. So they're my sort of key thoughts. That's the direction I go. I don't think of what I have done. I think of
Yeah.
those are the directions I
This
am.
is this is the new Geoff.
This is the new Geoff, and
Yeah.
I owe a lot of that to you, from your initial program that you sent. What was the initial one that you sent out?
Mm.
You did a program of your golden light meditation, and I still use that today.
Yeah.
I've made it my own and added things,
Yeah.
but I haven't changed a lot. So, that's where I've made my most profound progression, is um, going forward and taking the actions of the forward steps.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as it is. Like, as
Yeah.
only got to go in that direction. And to your credit, and they action things which can make it. Well, my words anyway. I wouldn't. Hopefully, that's doing it justice. But there's tools to use and there's ways to go. But it's how do you want it to be and where do you want to go?
Yeah. And
How
it's
far?
so, yeah. And then, like, when you discover that it's just a program, everything's a program. And so when you discover that you're in control, like, the first thing you got to do is say, I'm a powerful person, you know?
Yeah.
And so once you realize I'm a powerful person, and then I'm in control of my own destiny,
Yeah.
and then we just get on the road. But then, like I was saying with Craig and, other people I talk with, is that you still can't manifest and do a life more than you are. So, and like you've done, we, I got you started for the first bit, but then you went on your road, like you went on your self-discovery of, like, all those different paths and that journey.
Oh yeah, it was a long way around. I went up and down over hills, but I've really enjoyed it. And
Yeah. But that's what in the end of the day, Geoff, the end of the day, what are we all here for?
yeah,
For the journey. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't really, as long as the journey is not, one is hurting other people, and two is that it's exciting.
Yeah.
If
I,
it's an exciting journey, well, then it's a great journey, isn't it?
Mate, I've got a few friends that, or most of my people know, or my people, most of my friends, most of my friends um, know who I am now, and they've seen this dramatic change to. I'll use these words to spirituality, or a little bit different. I meditate. I do yoga. I read all these sorts of books. I was a vegan for a while. Then I was a vegetarian. Then I sort of come pescatarian and ate some fish. And I've sort of gone through all these processes to get to um, the life that I have now. And mate, listening to podcasts on neuroscience, I've got some really. No, I'm really in a deep appreciation of Rum Dust at the moment. Alan Watts, Rum Dust, and they're teaching me ways of of how to really love yourself and love the the play that we're in, this big stage that we're on, and that we are the creators of everything that goes on in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I get so much joy. Like my energy is rising now because I'm thinking of the Celestine prophecy and how
Yeah.
we share energy, and you and I speaking and we're both smiling. That to me is that I could not drink 1,000 beers and get this buzz.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't, to go outside and sit in the sunshine and feel the energy of the sun on my face, and listen to the birds, and I do a bit of trekking like you do and mountain climbing and stuff like that. That brings me such an intense joy, and helping someone else come out of a bad mood. That brings me so much more joy than partying ever did.
Yeah. It's a
Um,
great road, isn't it?
oh,
How good is it?
it's unbelievable. And the more you learn and the more you find out, um, it just gets better and better every day. Like and how you, what action steps you take to get it to the if you pictured yourself as a plant, the more water you put in and the more sunshine you get, the better and bigger and fuller the plant grows. So you put good things into the soil, which is you just prosper, and you end up hanging around nicer people, or getting more things that that you attract. So life changes and it just becomes more fulfilling.
Yeah. It's infectious, isn't it?
Oh, unreal.
You know?
And this community that you're starting, I'm happy to be a part of it. I think it's and willing to be a part of it, because the more and more good people that you hang around, it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. And to create, this is why I wanted to create a dedicated community for men and one for women, because one, we think so differently. We're chalk and cheese.
Yeah,
We don't even, we're not even close to thinking the same. And then also it creates a safe space for men to be able to talk about men problems and women to be able to talk about women things,
yeah,
and we've all got our own issues, and it's all because of our programming. This is the thing. This is what we need to be aware of, is it's all because of the programming that we've been given. And
yeah,
then, so once we discover that actually that's what it is, and then we have all the tools to change it, then life just becomes so much better.
yeah. And how, some people might delve in as deep as you, or some people might delve in as deep as me, and whatever. But I think it does become infectious once you see this way. I was in Sydney the other day
Just-
with a friend of mine, and we have these discussions all the time, and we were sitting down in the arcade, and there was thousands of people walking back past, and I related it back to the movie The Matrix, where Neo and Trinity were there, and nobody could see them because they weren't at the same vibration or on the same plane, and they were just in their day-to-day life of crap, if you would say it. Uh, and those revelation moments, they come for me quite a lot. And it's how do we want to create the life that we want to live in this appearance or this experience, if you call it that.
yeah. And so we're going to be doing a lot more podcasts with Geoff. But before we finish up today, what about your latest? Because I taught you how to do the manifesting, then the upgrading. And
Yeah.
so tell us the latest manifestation that you did.
Well, I don't use it enough. That's the thing. I was a man of action, but it's like I must be a semi-automatic or something, and not enough. But I've started doing a lot more later. In your previous podcast, you said about the car parking thing. I've done that. In relation to the car parking thing, I'm at this funny stage because I get on the way to somewhere and I go, oh, that's right. For an example, last week I went to the Yamundi markets because they've got this vegan ramen dish out there, and I drive an hour to get it. So I get quarter of the way out there and I go, all right, I want to park up on the hill. I want a parking stop right on the hill because then I can walk down have a walk around the markets, get my food, and then sit on the grass in the sun. And then when I'm getting there, I go, and then there was a spot down the bottom, and someone just beat me to it, and I went, oh, that was a really good spot. Oh, that was, I missed it. But then as I drove off, I went, actually, no, I actually wanted one up on the top of the hill. So I creeped up the top of the hill and went up, and I could see right to the end, and there was no spots. And I got right to about 6 before the end, and some reverse lights come on.
Yeah, exactly what happens.
But I was right. I was just about to pass it. So in my thought process now, I'm going, well, I didn't manifest it before I went there, so I'm just getting it as I get there. So for me, manifest it well before you go. Like you go on holiday, I'm going to have the best whole holiday. That's how it works. You do it 5 minutes late, you're just still going to get the spot, but you might just get it, or you might just pass it, and you have to back to get into it. So it does work, but the main one was, and this has probably happened to me a good half a dozen times. I went to Sydney with a friend of mine, and we walked into the second accommodation because I didn't do it in the first accommodation. You see how sometimes, I'm excited, I'm busy, I'm loving going to Sydney. We're going on the Manly Ferry. So we were there for a day, and I went, well, we're going to change accommodation, and we were going to this nice fancy place called the Shangri-La at the Rocks. And prior to going there, I said to my friend Elena, you wait, we're going to get a really super room now, because there was not many vacancies. So I went on to hotels.com, booked a $700 a room, which was $350 a night, which was really cheap, but that's all they had. And it was the city view room up to level 5. And I went, well, the city's great to look at. I can see all the people that are asleep down there walking around doing their jobs. So I went in and I spoke to this guy. His name was Simpson. And I manifest an upgrade, like you taught me years ago.
Yeah.
I said to Elena, we're going to get a really good upgrade here. You just wait and see. I'm either thinking Opera House or Harbour Bridge. Harbour Bridge would be good, but, either one. Went in and chatted to this bloke, Simpson, and said, I can feel it that you're a very kind general man, Simpson, and I'm feeling like an upgrade's coming my way. And he said, oh, look, we're very busy. We'd love to give everyone upgrades, but, we're very busy. And I said, all right. So I walked off and I said to Elena, you wait. When they ring us and our room's ready. So they rang us and said, your room's ready, come back. Didn't give us any hints. Went in, different lady, and she said, oh, Mr. Jeffcoat, yep, your reservation. Oh, she said, oh, well, this is your lucky day. You've been upgraded. This building's 36 stories and the top floor's a restaurant. And they said, you're actually on level 35 looking straight at the Opera House, which is a $3,000 room or some horrendous amount of money. But happy days. And I said, well, I really do appreciate it, but I sort of knew this was coming before you were going to tell me. And having that faith and that positivity, walking around the city thinking, oh, this is going to be fantastic. Level 35, looking at the Harbour Bridge, and we're down there for Vivid Week. So our room faced the Opera House, and we got Vivid Light Show where they post pictures all over the Opera House till 11 at night. So that's manifesting.
It still blows you away, doesn't it? Like even me. Oh, sometimes I manifest things and I go, oh man, how crazy. I still think, how does that work? It just doesn't seem real.
Doesn't. Well, and there are good ways to do it, and I haven't perfected it because otherwise I would have had the $100 million Powerball.
Yeah. But you know what? You know why because everybody's trying to manifest the Lotto and Powerball and that. So there's a lot of competition. Yeah, and so you've got to go for the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a fun game, and
but that's all it is, a game. That's it. Yeah. So Geoff, mate, thanks very much for sharing your story, and I hope that it gets to help some men out there that are and women too that are down and struggling, and know that there is a way. Like if you don't want to struggle anymore, you just don't have to. Like you can choose not to,
and it's easier than you think,
and a lot easier than you think. Yeah, and quicker. Thanks a lot, Geoff, and no doubt we're going to be spending a lot more podcasts together because You have such a wealth of knowledge now that this journey that you've been on, and I know that you are going to be helping a lot of people. And so, yeah, we look forward to the next podcast. Yeah, so thanks, mate.
No worries, thank you, and mate, it's admirable what you're doing for the collective or this planet and the universe. So I'm really looking forward to being a part of it.